Silva wants European stay. The Champions League is set for Lisbon. There's League One drama, a transfer roundup, and today's great debate all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, here with the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first up, and apparently Brazilian defender Thiago Silva wants to stay in Europe after his contract with PSG expires in the summer. Now, despite the fact his official contract does run until June the 30th, he has said he will remain with the club to see out the rest of their Champions League campaign. Of course, they're waiting to find out who they're going to play in the quarter-finals. After turning around the first leg defeat to Borussia Dortmund, PSG managed to see themselves through, and maybe, just maybe, I say it with a pinch of salt, we could actually see PSG go far in the competition. Lord knows they are due a pretty good run. As to where Silva's going to end up next, it looks like he wants to stay in Europe. The main reason being he still harbours hopes of being in the Brazilian squad for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. By then he'll be 37 years old, and although Brazil aren't necessarily the ones who turn a blind eye to anyone over the age of about 32 or 33, there have been older players in their squad before, I'm not so sure whether he'll still be at his fighting best by then. Don't get me wrong, he's definitely got a load of experience. He's a brilliant defender, has been for PSG in all the clubs he's been at, including AC Milan, but if he moves to a team, let's say in the Premier League, or at the top of Europe, enough to get him noticed by the Brazilian national team manager, is he really going to be playing that much anyway? The reason I say so is because the likes of Arsenal, Leicester, Wolves, Newcastle, and I believe West Ham, although that's a bit of a long shot, are interested in Silva. If he goes to any of these clubs, there's no way he's going to start. And if he's not playing football, he's not going to get into the Brazil team for the World Cup. It looks to me as though he may just have overshot it a little bit, but that's not exactly his fault. That's just the year that he was born. Anyway, what he is willing to do, though, is take a massive wage cut. He's currently on around 210,000 euros per week at PSG, something which I'm not sure many other clubs will pay for a 35-year-old defender. So who knows where we'll be seeing Silva at the start of next season. And talking about the Champions League, Lisbon in Portugal is apparently where the new mini tournament is going to be held to see who will be the winner of this year's Champions League. Now, those of you are going to be saying, Matt, isn't it supposed to be held at the Atatürk Stadium in Turkey? That's what I thought. I honestly thought everything was going to go ahead just as planned, but according to UEFA, there's going to be one-leg knockouts for the quarterfinals and semi-finals, and the whole tournament is going to be played in the same city, and it looks like Lisbon is the place to do so. Not entirely sure why they've chosen Lisbon over elsewhere, but they just have. It looks as though once all the domestic leagues are finished at the end of July, August will be the month set aside for not only the opening of the transfer window around Europe, but also the finishing of European competitions. I say both competitions because, of course, we've still got the Europa League as well. Apparently, the same sort of format is going to happen for the Europa League, with the final few games to be played somewhere in Germany. So next up, and League One has decided to finish their season, and the promotion and relegation has been sorted on a points per game basis. Now, the third tier of English football met yesterday to decide how the season would finish, and it means that Coventry finishes champions, Rotherham are going to go up in second place, and there's going to be 4 teams in the playoffs to find out who's going to take that third position in next season's championship. On the flip side though, things are a little difficult to take for the likes of Tranmere. They have been relegated along with Southend and Bolton Wanderers, and if we ignore the fact that Bolton used to be a Premier League team and they're now going to be in League 2 next season, it's incredibly tight when it comes to the points per game basis. The same thing can be said for the playoffs, where Tranmere overtake Peterborough to find their way in with a better points per game ratio. The thing is, the Tranmere chairman Mark Palios is saying, oh, it's a bit unfair, it's this and this, that. Whilst I agree in this situation, doing the points per game, and obviously his team's been relegated, it's a little bit unfair. Also, they kind of had, what was it, like 29, 30 games before this to not be in this position? Like, if, I don't know, if they'd done things better in the transfer window, if they had a better manager, you know, not saying better players, because it's not that easy. If they were better on the pitch, this wouldn't be a conversation at the end of the season. Obviously, that sounds incredibly harsh, and I'm not having to go at Tranmere or anyone else, but that's the whole point. If you don't want to be in a position where the smallest difference can mean you're relegated, maybe try not to be in that position for the previous 30 games like everyone else in the league has been. That may sound a little bit harsh. We're going to move on to some transfer news, where Daniel James will not be allowed to go out on loan, even if Manchester United sign Jadon Sancho. According to other reports, Southampton are only willing to accept around £35 million for their captain Pierre-Emile, who's been linked with Tottenham. Liverpool midfielder Adam Lallana has agreed a contract extension which will see him play to the end of the season because, well, he's going to be the one and only time he gets to lift the Premier League trophy, so why on earth wouldn't he do it? And lastly but not least, Barcelona and any other club interested in Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan have until the 7th of July to pay his €111 million release clause before it expires. After that, they're going to have to negotiate properly with Inter Milan, and Lord knows what kind of numbers they'll be throwing at prospective clubs. So lastly but not least, we come to this week's great debate. This is where I pose a question to you guys in the comment section down below. And with exactly 1 week to go until the return of the Premier League, I want to know which game in the first match day are you looking forward to the most? So the first match day, I mean next Wednesday's games, and then the whole weekend's worth of fixtures the following weekend. For me, it's Tottenham-Manchester United. You could say, yeah, you're looking forward to Spurs because he's a Spurs fan. Firstly, yes. Secondly, that's not a biased answer. It's just a football match. And thirdly, Spurs-Man United is one of the biggest games on that opening weekend. I mean, both are battling for fourth. United in a far better position than Tottenham are. Kane's back for Spurs, so is Bergwijn. Rashford's going to be back for Manchester United. Pogba could be playing. It's a rather exciting game. Of course, you guys let me know which game you are looking forward to the most. And if you don't really like the Premier League, let me know which game you're looking forward to this weekend in La Liga or Serie A. Leave all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well as your thoughts on the rest of today's daily news. Whilst you're at it, smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.